Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Seaweed Brain, a Percy Jackson podcast live from the Duat. We are at the climactic section of the Red Pyramid today. So much is happening. We are making big decisions, having many epiphanies, using gods as a conduit to access intergenerational wisdom. Stick around.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
That's your money saying it's time for a McDonald's run. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. Like buy a 6-piece McNuggets and add a McChicken for just $1. Your money says let's go. Get more than you expect with new McValue. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
Welcome back, everyone, to Seaweed Brain, live from the Duat. Only live from the Duat for a little longer because we're nearly at the end of this book. And to help us celebrate, we have a very special in-person guest making their third appearance on Seaweed Brain live from the Duat. It's Darien from Muses of Mythology.
Hi, it's me. I'm back.
Darien and I are sharing a microphone. So we've activated talk show mode where we're kind of leaning back and forth. The reason, if you may be wondering why Darien is here, is because I'm in Idaho and that's where Darien is. And it's been really exciting. And I thought maybe we could give a brief 20-second recap of our Percy Jackson podcast second ever group meetup. Mm-hmm. First one was in New York. Second one was in Idaho. Who knows where the third one will be?
London, probably.
Probably
honestly.
London.
Honestly, okay, first of all, I can't believe Erica just doxed me. That's crazy. I'm talking about being from Boise all the time on my shows.
Also, the crazy thing about touring and people knowing you're touring is everybody knows where I am at all times.
That is scary. I don't
It
like
is kind of
that.
scary. It's a little scary. People do get stalkers on tour. It's real.
Yeah, I don't like that for you.
Because your work address is public information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Not me, though. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
No stalkers here.
No.
Oh, well.
This is my favorite week of my life. I had the most wonderful time getting to hang out with my friends in person. Also doing a bunch of fun things in the city where I live.
Yeah.
All at once. And making everyone do these things with me. It was magical.
We have to shout out Labyrinth Escape Games in downtown Boise, Idaho, a place I frequented twice in the 2 weeks I've been here. We, as a group, did the Egyptian tomb kind of Indiana Jones themed escape room, which was obviously perfect because not only is Seaweed Brain in the midst of Red Pyramid, but Muses of Mythology, Darien's podcast, is about to start Red Pyramid. So we were having such a great time trying to
well, no, Bast is a fertility goddess. It must be about Bast, right?
We were trying to use our own knowledge, like our external knowledge, to break the codes in the room instead of the hints, which is never a good idea.
But also, because you also did the Ragnarok one.
Yes.
This is a Norse mythology one that me and my co-host DJ, we did do very recently. And there were elements of that one where knowing kind of Norse mythology did help. Like there was this tree where you're putting all of the realms in the right order
on the Tree of Life.
And you have to stack these cards first. And my buddy was like, are we sure these are right? I'm like, yes, because nothing is below Niflheim.
Yes, nothing's below Niflheim and everything is below Asgard.
Yes.
Yeah, Asgard was at the very top.
Yeah. So that's how you know it's right. We don't need to move this because there's no other way.
Yeah.
So there were some things. I also had to, minor spoilers for if you want to go do the Escape the Pharaoh's Tomb.
Labyrinth Escape Games, downtown Boise, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're all running there right now.
Yeah, you should. So immersive. It's the best. Nothing but love to all the other escape rooms in the area. They are all super fun. This one is the best. I had to climb in a sarcophagus with a skeleton with glowing eyes.
Yeah.
And it's all fakey fake and everything's not real and it's just a game. Also, I was a little scared.
I did scream. They drop snakes on you. Like it's giving booby traps, like spiders, like they're all falling down on you. I screamed every time.
But that was how we accessed the Pharaoh's treasure room. And it did kind of feel like that scene in National Treasure.
Or the scene that we're talking about today.
Actually.
In the Red Pyramid. Speaking in a tomb and like a crumbling tomb.
And Anubis.
And Anubis is there and there's a glowing sarcophagus. It was really appropriate.
Yeah.
Final shout out to our game, I guess what would you call him? He was our He was our GM. He was running our game.
That's our game master.
A game master. I had him both times I went this week. His name's Houston. We love you, Houston.
Houston's great. I'm pretty sure I had him when we did Ragnarok too.
Yeah, he rocked. Also, this is actually a great anecdote to tell on the podcast. You have to, if you're not familiar with escape room culture, which if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you are familiar with escape room culture because the Venn diagrams of people who would be into that and this podcast feel like a circle.
It's a circle.
And the one outlier of that circle is Carter. Carter is
Carter's not escape room?
Carter would be rolling their eyes right now. If you weren't here, Darien, Carter would be rolling their eyes at me.
Carter, have you done escape room?
We did one in high school, like the day after Carter left for college. It was like right after we graduated from high school and Carter had just left.
And Carter was relieved that they dodged
and we did one.
Bullet.
Yeah.
And that was the first one I ever did.
It just doesn't seem fun to you. That's fair. I'm not trying to say you should try one. I'm just like, I'm a little fascinated.
I know.
People have different ways of, relating to different feelings about how much external knowledge should be a part of a puzzle, how much.
Okay.
I have a certain level of tolerance for, I guess, arbitrariness and whimsy in puzzles. I like those things separate for me. And that is where escape rooms are not a good fit for my personal leisure preference.
For example, Carter likes TTRPGs, but Carter doesn't want to play Dungeons and Dragons, if that makes sense. Carter wants to play Wingspan, but doesn't want to play D&D, and that's why they won't do escape rooms.
No, that makes total sense.
Yes,
that makes
just so you can all judge Carter as you're listening to this.
That makes total sense. Absolutely.
The part of our personalities and where they diverge is that at heart, I'm a 13-year-old boy, and Carter is not.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And that can always be used as a marker of like, where will Carter and Erica fall on something? Would a 13-year-old boy like it? Then yes, I would. And if no, Carter, Anyway, the final anecdote I want to say about this is that when you do an escape room, you have to come up with like a team name. And everybody made the team name Erica from Seaweed Brain because they love to embarrass me. And because that happened, the game makers, I keep saying that, it sounds like Spy Kids.
Sounds like Hunger Games.
Oh yeah, it does sound like Hunger Games. The employees came up to us when we had finished the room and gotten out of the room, and they were like, was that a Seaweed Brain, like a Percy Jackson reference? Mm-hmm. And we were like, whoa. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then they were like, we have to show you one of the employees.
Houston was like, I think it was first, like we mentioned, I think you were telling me like, oh, we all do Percy Jackson podcasts. We're actually doing the Red Pyramid right now. And the person that was in the front that signed us in that we did the thing like, oh, I heard Seaweed Brain and I thought it was a Percy Jackson reference, but I didn't like want to ask and be weird. And then Houston's like, you got to show them the art you've been working on for 36 hours.
We were like, show us the art you've been drawing like behind the desk at this escape room place. And the employee was like, no, I shouldn't. And I was like, Fran, Robert, roll up your sleeves and show this child your Percy Jackson tattoos. You do not need to be embarrassed here.
Yeah. And they're like, well, it's what how they described it. It's like gut wrenching. And we were all like, oh, is it the cliffhanger?
Is it the Tartarus fall?
Is the Tartarus fall?
And they were like, yeah.
We're like, yeah. And I think that actually made them feel more comfortable that we all knew instantly, like, it's the Tartarus fall, right? Yeah. Show us the art. Show us the art.
Yeah, so they showed us the art and that was really fun. And we all just kind of nerded out. And I was talking also, I was like, oh, by the way, like the Ragnarok room was really cool. And then Houston was like, you think I don't know Magnus Chase? You think I'm not intimately familiar with Magnus Chase? I'm aware of Magnus Chase. So anyway, it was just really sweet. And we kind of stood there for like way too much time.
Another party had come in and we had to be like, we'll let you go back to work. And the employee's like, we should. Can we talk to you for 5 more minutes? We are having fun.
It was a great Riordan nerd fest.
And the artist started a new Artstagram and posted the art and tagged us in it.
Yeah.
And that made us feel really happy that we, actually, I feel like we should carry a lot of guilt that we encouraged an artist to get back into the social media game.
That's true.
Because that's a horrible thing that we did to them.
We actually did.
So nice.
We did wrong. But if you want to check out the art,
because it's beautiful.
The @ is _.effervescent.
And I'm sure
you can go look at the art.
Show notes, right?
Yeah, I'll link it in the show notes and you can go and see the art that we got shown in the lobby of the escape room place.
It's work in progress. It's not done yet. Yeah. Or maybe it will be when the time this episode comes out. Yes. I don't know.
Anyway, that is the tangent I wanted to share. It was a really special moment. Mm-hmm. Carter would have hated it. But that's why it happened to me and not to Carter. And now we're here today to talk about the Red Pyramid, chapters 38 and 39. These are sad ones. Before we get going, I will say a thank you to our patrons. First of all, thank you to Darien, who is a patron.
I am a patron. Hi.
Second of all, I think we have some new ones. Lauren, I'm going to mispronounce this, Jaikia, Ryan, and Anna. And then, as always, our sustaining patrons, Izzy, James, Cameron, Justin, and Dayton. Thank you for supporting the podcast. We're now doing like an Instagram close friends thing. So we can, like, if you're not on the Discord server, we can kind of post and like share news and whatnot and fun bits if you're a patron. So go ahead and sign up, patreon.com/seaweedbrain. Carter, where did we last leave off?
This is an excellent question. We last left off at sort of an acceleration point in the battle. We had Set's evil monologue. A lot of background information about the Amos possession and his full plans have been revealed. And at this point, Carter and Horace have just achieved their perfect synergy, mind meld, duality, hosting situation. And the fight is about to start in earnest.
Chapter 38, The House is in the House. This is not a super long chapter, but it is one that made me smile because I really liked at the end of this book seeing Carter confident, happy in his body, like no longer awkward and insecure and pathetic as he has been. So pathetic throughout the entirety of this book, but really
capable,
really slaying. Quote, "It was a fight to the death and I felt great." I'm happy for him.
The most notable moment, I think, in this chapter is that he very quickly realizes that we have to move the fight somewhere else to avoid killing Amos and Zia, who are basically unconscious on the floor. So the way that he does that is by forcing Set to turn into a fruit bat.
I love that.
That really, we checked all the boxes with that one. That is a good callback. That is a priori funny because fruit bats are inherently funny creatures, period. We are reincorporating an Amos thing, which is also a Set thing. So in a way, it feels like we're closing a loop. We're accomplishing a little revenge in a fun way.
It's also like a Jedi mind trick, which for Carter to do something like that, again, requires this level of confidence that is heretofore unseen from him. And it's really satisfying to watch him just kind of like stare down the most evil god in Egyptian mythology and say, "You're a fruit bat." And for Set to be like, "Oh, no, I am."
It's about willpower. It's about surprise. It is, I think, introducing a really, hopefully, fun mechanic for the rest of this series, maybe. I don't know. We're like explicating a little bit more how these transformations work and how it might work between two people. And as a battle idea that at any point you could grab somebody and sort of just surprise them so much that you force them to transform. What a thrilling possibility.
Did you say that this fight in the outline, Carter, is really cool and reminds you of Star Wars?
Yes. Okay. Obviously the Jedi mind trick of it all, but specifically the visual that they're giving of the House of Life. So the reason why Carter turns Set into the fruit bat is so that we can fly both of them up and out of the pyramid. We're now fighting on the side of it and looking down at the House of Life. It's described to us as a situation where there are maybe like 20 magicians from the House of Life, and each of them are surrounded by different enemy combatants, glowing light, etc. Very exciting. And that is what immediately came to mind for me is the Star Wars imagery. Specifically, I'm thinking about episode 2 when we're at the like fake replica Roman gladiatorial arena at the beginning, not when they're like all clustered together, because that's not exactly the imagery. But anyway, it's a very vivid description that is full of color and random animals appearing and gives us a flavor for specifically how these magicians are different from a lot of the other types of fantasy combatants figures that we've dealt with, and certainly different from anyone that we would see in the Percy Jackson side. They're not trying to, Greek, even pseudo formation this. It's like a bunch of individual technicians doing things that are different. And part of that comes through even just in this idea that like they all have these like different colored rings of power around them to sort of, I guess, spice up the visual, but also like remind you that there's like a certain bespoke individual, I am going to do this fight my way because I have to, and because we aren't all really doing the same thing even here, that I found very, interesting. A good imagination spark.
I think it underlines that the magicians have specialties, which is something we've heard like briefly, like Zia's like able to do like fire specialty. And then we get like, oh, I'm a combat magician, things like that. That feels like it'll tap into a little bit of like the value of being able to channel the gods in a way that like Carter does combat and Sadie's able to do magic because of Horus and Isis.
Which again is something that in almost every story that we have about magicians and wizards and sorcerers is common, except for in the one most famous story about wizards. We don't have that. And so it's so satisfying to see it here.
Yeah.
You should have a specialty as a magician.
Yeah.
Because you have to
it's
do
like
the craft.
kind of included, but like not well, and also there wasn't craft, and we've got into it. It's just not.
We've every single time we've got into it. Every single time. They're fighting. The fight's great. Carter's trying to destroy the pyramid, as we know. Set is trying to defend it. And then who shows up? Desjardins.
Hey, it's our guy.
Yeah, he really thought he ate. He was like, I'm gonna do a dramatic. He like swirls himself out up from the melee situation and is trying to be like, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to destroy the capstone. Not the capstone. We've been corrected about this. The pyramidion. Capstone implies some sort of
the little pyramid on top of the pyramid.
property.
Oh, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
He like swirls up. He's like, yeah, I'm the one. I'm going to do it. I'm going to destroy this. And I'm not going to get whacked for saying that this was so satisfying. There's something about it's not just the fact that he's a villain to us, but his like exceptionalism and thinking like, oh, let me just like, I don't know why nobody else is thinking that they're going to come up here and just press their wand on this thing and destroy it. I'm going to do it. This was a bad plan. What were you thinking? What level of exceptionalism and delusion went into you believing that this was a good idea? And it wasn't a good idea.
It makes me worry about Iskandar's judgment and his decision-making skills for putting this guy in charge. This guy's a fool.
Here's a very interesting thing I realized about Desjardins when we were doing Red Pyramid because over on Muses, we just do the whole book. And so he has a protagonist backstory in this, wherein he is not from a lineage of pharaohs. He is not from a lineage of magicians. His grandfather deciphered the Rosetta Stone, and the magicians were so impressed, they invited him to their secret magic club.
Yeah, because he's a Nepo House of Life baby.
Oh, wait, hold on. What makes him more of a Nepo House of Life baby than the Canes?
No, they're also Nepo babies.
I was just thinking, like...
different Nepo, though, because, like, the Canes are, like, it's like an old money, new money. Is I think the way that it's framed.
Because I was seeing it more as like everyone else around here comes from this long lineage of like way back to Egypt and magic and stuff, and now you're like the scrappy protagonist who's like barely got in and like has to prove. It feels like
understood.
This would be more, and then the villains, the mean girls, and the thing would be like, we are the blood of two pharaohs, so we're inherently more special than you just because your granddad was an archaeologist. That's so cringe. But that's not it. I just noticed. I'm like, that feels like we should be rooting for Desjardins a little bit more because he
except for the fact
he's French.
French, like literally, like it really
French.
Recolors the whole thing. Where it's like the reason why, like, I don't know, like the blood of the pharaohs is like a tough sell for this because the strong implication there is it's not true that like anyone of historic Egyptian lineage from the era of the pharaohs would have equal claim to this. But I feel like there is definitely the valence here that they're trying to emphasize that because he's a colonizer, he is not as good at this as other people, and that it is more difficult for him to maybe access certain core aspects of the power system.
As if saying he's not British.
Well, that...
I was like very comfortable stealing shit from Cairo.
I mean, yeah, like that is really, we've spent I think we've talked about and then had to, for cognitive dissonance, like you just have to get through the book reasons, like set aside the idea of like the white mom is a descendant of one of the pharaohs and that is important magical lineage that leads them to
Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, for real.
Ruby Kane, let me just say something real quick. Ruby Kane loves those little strappy sandals. She wears those all the time.
Yeah.
Like a Choco or like a Tiva. I know that she loves like a light khaki, like thin pant, and she loves her Sun Patagonia shirt. Anyway.
Yeah. This is very true.
I'm thinking of a friend of ours' mother, and I hope that Carter can identify quickly which one it is. Thank you. There we go.
I was like,
instant recognition. Instant recognition.
Yeah. Very true. Anyway, to get us back to this particular moment, Desjardins, exceptionalist, not out of his depth, is trying to destroy the stone, and let me read this. This is very satisfying. He pressed his staff against the capstone, and its golden shape began to glow. But before Desjardins could destroy it, Set rose up behind him and swung his iron rod like a baseball bat. Desjardins tumbled, broken and unconscious, all the way down the pyramid, disappearing into the mob of demons. My heart twisted. I never liked Desjardins, but no one deserved a fate like that. Counterpoint? That is precisely the fate he deserved. This is giving.
This is right.
This is slotting into such a classic trope of your B-level villain, somebody who is not at the level of the real, actual problems for society, but just kind of nuisance. And like right before to power scale and to reestablish what the stakes are, you gotta smack them down. Like you need to like be like, actually, that thing that was bothering you that you spent several chapters dealing with, that is actually nothing. Bam.
Baseball bat.
Who the real villain is. It establishes, oh, that thing that you spent all this time on, that was nothing. That was nothing. You need to recalibrate your expectations. And also, it gives you that like, ooh, how should I feel about this? Do I have to interrogate the fact that I just felt amazing watching this twerp ragdoll, like classical physical comedy style, like tumble down the side of a pyramid? Because it's not a cliff. This is what makes it comedy. This is what makes it satisfying, is that you can imagine him like boom, 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 like as it were like down a flight of stairs, you know? I find this
like
very
a slinky.
Like a
Emperor's
slinky.
New Groove. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. This is a harkening back to a classic American vaudevillian tradition. The image of him getting smacked like a cartoon.
It's also narratively satisfying because Desjardins' whole thing has been just like, I refuse to believe the Canes when they're telling me that Set's coming back. I refuse to believe that the gods are going to be necessary to beat this. We could just continue with our magician traditions of not relying on the gods. And now I'm going to go up and just get bitch slapped by this god they've been warning me about the whole book.
This is just reminding you, in case you had any doubt about his theory of the chaos and the House of Life's idea about how they're going to prevail here. Not even like 2 seconds of this strategy, even getting out the gate.
The house is in the house, but Desjardins is not.
He surely is not. And this is a reminder also. Like, remember, he like this man is so overqualified. He used the biggest trick in his arsenal.
Yeah,
literally he did
to bully some children. And look at him now. Having nothing.
Wouldn't that be so handy right now?
No tricks. Don't you wish you could summon a goddess?
Fool.
Too late. For the rest of your life, you blew that one. Anyway.
The other thing I wanted to say about this chapter, just because it's basically done now, is that as much as I love this chapter, and it's so great to see Carter be like satisfyingly confident and capable, it really did highlight like these 2 chapters, this one into the next one, highlighted for me that it feels like Sadie is the main character of this book. Carter is a supporting character. Like the most satisfying thing we get from him is this like short battle, and then Sadie is going to go and do like the true like heavy lifting emotionally, plot wise, and we're going to get this like really touching emotional chapter next, which is fine. I just feel like Sadie is the main character of this book, and I stand firm on that.
I think
it's a normative judgment on our part. It is a positive assessment of like when you're looking at the structure of the plot, the important beats, the narration, who did Rick elevate to that level? And it is Sadie. Carter, like the way that this is like this is his big like on the gas, full synergy, like I am firing on all cylinders mode. And what that gets us is to the point that Sadie appears to actually get us over the finish line, which is not to say obviously that she would have been able to do it alone either, but just the framing of this, that like the ultimate arrival is her bursting out in full divinity from the pyramid.
Rainbow wings.
Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to like describe when they're like truly like acting as like the eye of the god, like in total tandem. And the best I could come up with Soul Residence from Soul Eater. Okay, we're gonna move on from that. Some of your listeners love
Someone
that.
will get it. Someone will get it.
My brother and co-host felt he agreed with me. So.
Great.
30 seconds to sunrise, Set yelled with glee. And this land will be mine forever. You can't stop me alone, Horace, especially not in the desert, the source of my strength. You're right, said a nearby voice. I glanced over and saw Sadie rising from the air vent, radiant with multicolored light, her staff and wand glowing. Except Horace is not alone, she said. I don't know if I can do this.
You've committed.
I've been avoiding reading this whole book.
Do it.
You've committed.
Because I just can't do that much Charlie XCX voice. And we're not going to fight you in the desert. She struck her staff against the pyramid and shouted a name, the last words I'd expected her to utter as a battle cry. More on that next chapter.
Or not, actually.
Or not. I was like, oh, shoot, I got to be in for this chapter. I love this chapter. I love this chapter. But the chapter after, like chapter
the second
40,
Sadie one?
It's just where Rick Riordan's like, he's established all these little threads. And then he's like, okay, everyone watch this. And like pulls them tight.
Yeah.
And you see the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, that's a satisfying narrative. This chapter is also very fun too. And it's very, it's like paying off the emotional narrative of Sadie's experience specifically.
Right. So we'll take a quick break and then we'll get there.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Spring is here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Chapter 39, Zia tells me a secret. So as we said, we're in Sadie's perspective. This is a big one. At first, I was like, is this the first time in this book that we've done this where we have to rewind in the next perspective to fill in the gaps?
No, we've done this.
It's not. It is not.
At least one time, I think multiple times before, because of this whole dual structure when they're not in the same place. You gotta, I don't know.
It's not common.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time, but I enjoy it.
I like it when it does.
Yeah, it's really satisfying. It allows there to be cliffhangers between chapters. It's something that happens a lot in like Heroes of Olympus, but I like it happening in this book in particular, so we can get the double perspective A plot, B plot. Yeah. Unfortunately, Carter is the B plot. Sadie says, "Back up, shall we?" And we have to go back in time to before her arriving full Sailor Moon mode into the pyramid. Sadie and Zia are having a conversation. Sadie is by the sarcophagus, right? The glowing sarcophagus that she knows her father is in. And we don't get full Sadie explanatory reveal of understanding what's going on with Zia, but we know as readers that Sadie has clicked the information together. And she now knows what we're assuming is Carter's prevailing theory, that Zia, the one that we are speaking to here in this moment, is maybe not the Zia that is far away and hosting Nephthys.
I mean, she basically does a thing where she lists all the evidence, like a, you know,
it's the proof meme
at the end of the unit of storytelling that we're at. She's put it all together.
I shifted uncomfortably. Look, Zia. Then the truth hit me in the face. Some things Iskandar had said, some things Thoth had said. They all clicked together. Iskandar had wanted to protect Zia. He told me if he'd realized Carter and I were godlings sooner, he could have protected us as well as someone, as well as Zia. Now I understood how he tried to protect her. Oh, God, I stared at her. That's it, isn't it? She seemed to understand, and she nodded, her face contorted with pain, but her eyes remained as fierce and insistent as ever. Use the name. Bend set to your will. Make him help.
If anyone wants to tell me that that's a bad accent, I'm just going to plead that I'm doing an impression of the accent on the audiobook, which is also a bad accent.
Yes.
I'm totally not trying my best at all.
I don't envision Sadie having like a normal British accent either. Like she has a weird upbringing.
Yeah.
I think she would try to fudge it a little bit too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway.
So Sadie's freaking out about that information, and then Zia snaps her out of it by saying, Carter needs your help. Which is just beautiful.
It's very
true love.
Good. Yes, it circles back to a big theme, and something you had at the top of the notes for this episode was that if you had to, like, basically, would you give up your father to save the world?
Right.
But another question Anubis asked was, would you give your life for your brothers? And Sadie was like, yes, in a heartbeat. Like, she didn't have to think about that. She had no guilt or feelings about that. And so, like, Zia bringing her back into focus with Carter needs your help is, I think, also an emotional narrative of this book in particular, where these two siblings who are basically strangers to each other become siblings again. And I think that's another way, as you said, like, this makes it Sadie our main character, because I think there's only one time Carter kind of reflects on, I need to be a big brother, like that thing. But for Sadie, it's something that DJ and I talked about when we talked about Red Heron, was like, he clocked that Carter never really thinks about that. But Sadie is constantly reflecting on her feelings about Carter as her brother, her feelings about her family dynamic. And it just feels like there wasn't as many opportunities for Carter to have those reflections in his narrative, but we get it every time it seems to come up for us, the audience, to think about. It's through Sadie, which also, I feel like, contributes to her being our main character, because that's a big narrative, emotional thing to be carrying.
I agree. This chapter really is, I was thinking about it predominantly at the father question, but you mentioning that that Anubis also asked her about her brother. This chapter really is the, like, satisfying payoff of the Feather of Truth chapter.
Yes, because she only has it in her pocket. And she's like, I don't want to talk about this, but I can't lie.
Yeah, it's like, as soon as you read that Feather of Truth chapter, I don't remember who it was Phoebe, I think, who said, like, it's such a satisfying...
Phoebe stole my chapter.
Yeah. So it was Phoebe who was like, what a compelling handcuff to put on your main character, that they have to tell the truth for the rest of the story. And you know, as soon as you read that chapter, that, like, all these questions that are being asked hypothetically are about to come up in, like, real life consequences, and they all happen in this chapter. It's so great. The structural payoff is just so satisfying.
Yes,
it's very satisfying. At the same time, this is really emphasizing the main character thing, in the sense that all of the payoff is here when Sadie is literally not, like, Carter's not even in the room right now.
No.
Even the Zia part, I'm wondering how we feel about this.
The emotional culmination is with Sadie and Zia, and not even Zia and Carter.
I know, right? Poor Carter. Aww. He's getting a big damn hero moment on the outside of the pyramid.
Like, their relationship actually has, like, Sadie and Zia have had this, like, very full, complete, rich journey, for which this, I think, is the culmination.
Oh, girls!
I do think it works out.
Girls, so confusing. Girls,
we're recording this
so
on the day of. I don't think anyone's referring to it as Charlie Chella, in the sense that she's not one of the headliners, and Lady Gaga is also there, but Charlie Coachella side is tonight. Much is going on.
Well, I think that, we talked a lot when we first started this book, oh my God, last summer, about Girls So Confusing. This is Girls So Confusing, the version with Lorde. This is the moment where they are remixing.
They have worked it out on the remix.
They're working it out on the remix. We said that they needed to work it out on the remix, and here they are, working it out on the remix. Yeah. So
this is also, in case you're coming to us from the future, we're recording this the day after Lorde announced her first follow-up single in years.
Oh my God, I didn't even see that.
You've been busy.
I liked Solar Power. I mean, that whole album I was a fan of.
No, me too.
We need more of her. Jesus is coming back. Okay. My Messiah. Anyway,
before Easter.
With this information in hand, Sadie is now going to go through, what is the right term for this? The outline says whirlwind culmination vision, but it's like stop by stop journey, speaking to the dead, speaking to all the important figures in her life.
Slideshow is a bad word for it. Montage?
I was going to say it's a kind of like dead wife montage, but of everyone who she has lost in this book.
Yeah.
Because Anubis is here. Shout out, that's a huge
Anubis
deal.
In the underworld, we see Bast with the actual Pharaoh's throne. Do we see Iskandar too? Am I misremembering that?
Iskandar there.
Yeah. Everybody dead or who just likes hanging around dead people.
Dead mom, soon to be dead dad.
Dead mom, soon to be dead dad. Yeah.
Don't make me sing it. Dead mom. Okay.
In terms of plot value, the big reveal here is basically just that Sadie's mom had also communed with Isis, and that this was a secret up until this point. Like, I feel like that's the only actual plot relevant thing. Everything else here is just reminding us about all the threads that we have to link and the importance of the power vacuum. This is just reestablishing the stakes before we have the kind of crucial decision that she's making here about whether or not to pry her dad out of the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
And the stakes are that basically if you do it, the path to restoring order closes.
And Carter's not even here to be a part of that decision.
Yeah. Sideline.
That's what he has no idea that's even a decision to make.
Decision maker in this.
That's why he's the figurehead pharaoh and Sadie has a bigger job to play.
It's about that. I mean, I think there are several things here. Like Sadie's relationship with her father, I think makes this final conversation a lot more satisfying. Maybe than Carter's relationship with the father would have set up for us. Which is weird because it's not like their relationship is lacking any complexity either. But I think that is where we are with this. And also, low key, no shade, Isis is like by far the most interesting Egyptian deity. She has the most going on. She has the most complicated backstory. She fits into the most interesting, complex intersection of sort of divine tropes across different world, stories of divinity. And so naturally, like when we get this confrontation with Isis around the different relationship her mother had with her, it's satisfying because of how many things that Isis represents simultaneously and how complex her story is. I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't in the cards for Carter this go round.
I don't know. Something about a father-daughter relationship.
Something about a father-daughter relationship.
Yeah. And like passing the weight of the decision onto her, asking her to forgive him. Because Carter has a complicated relationship with his father and like in ways resents him, but not in the way that Sadie resents her father. Yeah. And to have to get over in like the span of 30 seconds her resentment of her father, to forgive him and then to love him and let him go is like such a complicated emotional beat journey for such a short period of time that it sets it up in a more aggressive way.
Yes.
This line is so interesting. As her father says, "Don't apologize, my brave girl. You have every right to feel that way. You had to get it out. What you're about to do, you have to believe it's for the right reasons, not because you resent me." That's incredible. Lot of work. That's a lot of heavy emotional lifting that is going on in like 2 pages. And then the narration says, "He reached out to brush a tear from my cheek, but his hand was just a shimmer of light." That's not I think,
fair. She gets to hold Anubis' hand all the time, and her dad can't even brush a tear from her cheek.
It's so sad. you know daddy issues. Let's not that's for the next book. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that I think is one of the most poignant sentences about like loss and grief in the entire Riordan verse, in which there are many moments of loss and grief. But the idea of her father's already gone in that sense, that and gone physically from her. Yeah. But never emotionally.
Because she's still, at this moment, she could still get him out of the coffin. Like, that is what they've determined. Like, you could still save Julius, but if Julius, who is hosting Osiris, is exposed to the pyramid, Osiris's essence will be consumed by the pyramid. And the idea that we see like Anubis first back in the hall with the broken scales and everything else is like, they needs to be restored. And it's like all pointing to Osiris needs to return to the underworld the same way he did before, by dying.
Allow me to say real quick, How Far I'll Go reprise from Moana, the first one. When Grandma Tala comes back as shimmering blue stingray, and like the shimmering form of her holographic ghost touches Moana's face and is like, "Moana, you've come so far." And then she has to step up and take the final reins. That gets me every time.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Can we double back real quick? I'm so sorry. So Mama Cain is like, we got to open up the thing to save Bast. The Cleopatra's Needle.
Cleopatra's Needle. The
and
obelisk.
Then she dies using up all of her energy to do the shield to close it so Big Bad Snake Boy doesn't come out. I know his name was Apophis. I said that as a joke, but then I was worried that people would be like, I can't believe they had her on and she didn't even know the name of Apophis. Like, sometimes
I didn't know Apophis. Go ahead.
Okay. And Bass mentions how she offered to give her the power to like be a host to the god and block it off. And she's even like, didn't. And then this thing, Julius talks about how her mom didn't do that, didn't try to tap into Isis's power again because she knew she wouldn't be able to handle it or she wouldn't be able to do it. And that seems wild to me, in that their whole thesis is that we need to go back to the old ways. We need to go back to like channeling the gods and doing that stuff. And like, it almost feels like Ruby's refusal to do that is antithetical to her thesis statement of we need to get back to this. And I don't know if it was meant to reflect the whole, like, she's not the blood of two pharaohs, and that's why she couldn't do it, and if that's what it is, or it was the importance to die human. Like what?
Osiris, and he is blood of one pharaoh, like Amos host had said. And there are all these other situations too where, like, if you want to revive this as a path, like, not everyone is going to be the blood of multiple pharaohs. Like, you're going to have to open, like, for this to be a viable strategy for more than just your immediate family, like, you would have to believe that Azia at some point is going to find some sort of god that is, like, compatible and appropriate and will be able to have some sort of hosting relationship with them, despite, to our knowledge, not being of the blood of the pharaohs at all. And it was, I don't know, it was a little lampshady. It was simultaneously a little Bene Gesserit-y. It was not a really fun mix of things. I feel like in my head, the, like, wipe it all away explanation is like the British thing. That
explain,
elaborate, expound.
I don't know that I need to. I think the listeners know where I am on that.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
We'll just move fast.
Also, I feel like we've been referencing Bene Gesserit a lot in this book, and just in case anybody hasn't read the 800-page Frank Herbert space epic,
or you can see the movie.
Watch the 2-hour-long YouTube video essay that explains what's going on there.
Which is definitely recorded. The Bene Gesserit are the space witches in Dune who use great science and organization to essentially genetically engineer the Muad'Dib.
They're like kind of space witches, but they're also like very Catholic coded in their iconography and a lot of other things about them. They're kind of like halfway between nuns and popes. Yeah.
They're trying to genetically trace all lineages in order to create like one brain that essentially is like so intelligent it operates as a supercomputer and can like predict the future and like see through realms and everything. And that's what they think that they find in Timothée Chalamet. In case you were confused, which is why Ruby Kane is kind of Bene Gesserit by tracking the lineage of the pharaohs. Anyway, there's a lot of Bene Gesserit. And then there's this...
this basically, just leads us to that final conversation with...
About parenting.
Julius and Sadie.
Yeah.
Parenting that I don't think that this really... Should we read the line?
Go ahead.
He says, one of my hardest jobs as a father, one of my greatest duties was to realize that my own dreams, my own goals and wishes are secondary to my children's. Your mother and I have set the stage, but it is your stage.
I did ask for that. Yeah, I didn't really buy that. I did not buy that.
He's not trying to set up their dreams. He's trying to hand off to them a duty that he was not able to complete. Which is not the same. Do I buy it as like a thing that he would say, even though it's wrong? Yeah, I think I do. Do I buy this as like a way of completing this complicated grief story where we're still going to be resentful of him and this choice that he has made without basically consulting us, where he is asking Sadie to kill him and like making it such that she doesn't really have any other options? Like, I think that it tells a compelling story about the way that loss often works, where the feelings are really complicated and the experience of this intergenerational transfer is messy and involves a lot of this sort of like hand down of trauma and obligation and assumptions and all of that. But he's wrong, right? We're on the same page that this is not...
No, this was weird. Yeah. I was about to forgive him. I was like ready to like forgive him and then like let him go. And then he said this BS. And I was like, I didn't ask for this. What do you mean you did this for me?
It's like Rick Riordan had a really poignant thought about parenthood. One that
he was like, I'm going to put it right here.
Yes. One that he has no other place where he can put it in any of his books because all the other parents
are gone.
The books are gods and they actually don't have to do that. So like Julius Kane is the only like parent who is
besides Sally.
Besides Sally who doesn't have that problem because she didn't need to learn that.
And Sally like wasn't in Heroes of Olympus. So Rick is like, where do I put this really great line about parenting?
Put it here, and it's good.
Death of the author, but
in an alternate universe, you could have imagined there actually being good parenthood in this book series. Like, this is one of the few times we have, he has fully created a magic system that doesn't require this special, like, oh, one of these parents is going to have this different power structure, like metaphysical basis that is going to, you know, necessarily like convolute and interject into any general stories we're trying to tell about parenting. Like, they literally have two mortal parents who could have been just alive parents in this book, and nothing but the magic system and a lot of those types of arcs would have to change. I just think it's interesting that it seemed like he was curious about telling that story, but also not curious enough to resist the, I guess, like deep well gravitational pull of telling a middle grade story in which there are no parents.
Yes.
So that the children are making big, bold choices all the time without heavy supervision.
If there are good parents, then the children never make these choices, because good parents would never let their children be in the situation where they have to make choices that children should never have to make.
And therefore, by that logic, Chiron is not a good parent, and I will never accept arguments on this. I will never accept it.
Doing the best he can.
He's a bad father.
No, he's not. These kids have to exist outside of
He's
normal
a bad
structure.
father.
Ken, I will not sit here within shoulder bumping distance.
That means that he's a bad father, because otherwise the structure wouldn't work. Okay.
If he wasn't there, they'd all be dead. Dionysus doesn't give a damn about them.
This is true.
I'm Dionysus and Carter is Chiron, for the record.
What just happened?
I just wanted to say, I just had that thought. And I didn't know where else to put it, so I'm putting it here.
That's
just
fair.
like
Carter, how do you feel about this statement that Erica, your co-host and dear friend of your life, has made?
I mean, of the mappings you could do of the two of us to two individuals, it's not the worst mapping. It like makes more sense than if you drew at random. Sadie locks in. She gets in that flow state. This one's much more dramatic and satisfying, in my opinion, because Isis is more interesting, and because this is also a way for her to kind of tap into her mother for the first time, really, ever.
Oh, that's good too. God, this is a good chapter.
Great chapter.
Through death, life, it is the only way. May Ma'at guide you, Sadie. I love you. That's it. I also felt my mother's thoughts like an imprint on the goddess's memory. Ruby's final moments and the choice she'd made. She'd given her life to start a chain of events, and the next move was mine.
That's actually powerful. We're back. We I think like found our way back to like,
yes.
Okay, this is a metaphor about parenting that is both good and actually is, I think, aligned with what is presently happening.
But we don't get the secret name because that's going to come later.
No,
because there's another. No, she doesn't. I don't think she does say it.
No,
Evil Day.
Just tell her.
Yeah, but she doesn't say it in this chapter.
She hasn't used it yet.
Yeah, like you don't see her use it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's next chapter.
We're going to use the secret name in the next chapter. We're very nearly done with this book. How many chapters are there? 4?
Very few. This is, the next one's chapter 40, and there's like 41.
Oh my God.
Oh, there's only 2 more.
This is the penultimate episode of Live from the Duat.
Yeah, the next episode's gonna be your last.
Oh my God, we need to start reading Cersei.
Wow.
Carter, we need to start reading Cersei like right now. Okay, everybody, get excited.
I'm so excited for Cersei.
Pick up your copies of Cersei and also pre-order your copies of Dreamslinger by Gracie Kim.
Yay!
Because that's also coming up in between before we get
so
started on
excited.
our Odyssey journey. Woohoo!
Pokemon, everybody.
Pokemon. Darien, plug your podcast.
Hi. So if you liked this and want to hear more of me, you can find me over at Muses of Mythology, where my co-host and brother DJ and I are just getting into the King Chronicles. So I feel like as siblings, we have a very unique perspective on this.
Definitely.
Our podcast, it focuses a lot on the mythology elements of things, but also we learn during our Norse stuff. That gets hard sometimes. So we're just doing the 3 books, and then we're going to go in and talk about the Egyptian stuff. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's going to be a weird season, but I got that. And if you're like, I already have my Live from the Duat fix, I don't need that. Well, you could also listen to me and my best friend Lucia Hart talk about the Aragon books over on Aragon and Back Again. Do people get that joke? Do they understand it's wordplay? It's a Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. There's that. And if you're like, I don't want either of those, but I'd love to hear you sound more confused and react disproportionately, you can listen to my buddy tell me all about the Warhammer AOS lore Dalton on Badman's Orbit. Those are my podcasts.
Shout out to Dalton for giving us a tour of the Idaho State Capitol.
It was awesome. You offered to do that when you found out everyone was coming to town like months and months ago.
I learned so much about the state legislature in Idaho.
It's crazy. And I was so glad we were able to do it because Erica looked at me when we were first met up and they're like, Darien, tell me about Idaho. And I'm like, I can tell you 3 sentences about Sacagawea from my 4th grade history class.
But then we learned.
That's it.
Now ask me about Idaho. I know a lot.
And thank you, Dalton.
Okay, everyone. We will see you guys next week to finish the Red Pyramid.
Yay!
Stick around. Go listen to Muses of Mythology and every single podcast Darien does. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.